It's been a while since we last convened because we had the election and all different moving parts, but the idea is to continue how we would typically present. We have new board members that are joining the committee, board member Anna London and board member Cynthia Stone. Welcome. And so what the idea is to, like, we're going to keep the original meeting cadence and structure. And then I think if there are additional things that we want to add or modify as we go along, we're happy to do that. Speaking to the newer board members, because we've been kind of modifying it to the committee wants and needs over time. So don't feel like this is like a hard agenda. It's kind of been crowdsourced by the group. So I will stop talking there. I'm going to pass it over to Ms. Porti, who's going to give us an update on the bond, the financials, the environmental impacts, and then wrapping it up with communications and minority women and small business ownership, and talking about all the great work that we're doing. All right, I'll hand it off. Thank you.
All righty. Thanks, Chair Monterey. I want to pass it to Mr. Ivy if he has any beginning comments, and then we'll get kicked off with the presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Porti, and thank you, Chair Monterey Duvall. We appreciate each of you and are excited to be able to show our presentation today. So at this time, I'm going to actually just pass it right back to Ms. Porti, who's going to start with the introduction and let the rest of the team go through the presentation.
All right. While they're getting the presentation up and going, good morning, Chair Monterey Duvall, board and committee members. Today's update will reflect our progress on the 2023 bond program and schools opening in the 2026-27 school year. And I'm waiting for that presentation. All right, we'll advance to the next slide. All right, thanks, Mindy. This is our CMS placemat that highlights our what and how. Every bond project is grounded in the district's guardrails and 4 pillars of excellence, which guides decisions to ensure equity, access, and strong learning conditions that would inspire student creativity and achievement. Next slide.
Aaron.
You can advance to the next slide.
Trying. Fine, you're to do that.
Okay. We would like to say thank you to our voters. This bond approval reflects deep community belief in CMS students. The bond funds 30 projects that enhances our school environment and student needs. Some of the highlights of the projects include a Uptown Medical and Technology High School and the design of a regional athletics complex. Next slide. This visual shares how the investment strengthens our ability to deliver on those learning environments, and it serves as a great reference. This document actually serves as a great reference guide for our community about bond projects and the impact on addressing aging facilities and growth. Next slide. This visual shows projects by board district, demonstrating the footprint of improvements happening district-wide, touching every corner of our county and our community. Our bond dollars at work demonstrate how funds are being allocated across each project and where each project phase is. This information also serves as a reference document for our community and aligns with what is on our CMS dashboard. It serves as a guide to share with our community and allows our community to have discussions about the bond dollars at work. I will now introduce Mr. Ken Brown. He is the Director of the Program Management, who will take us through the capital budget status report.
So through January, we have committed $713 million with our contractors and expended about 715. This shows 159 plus the 15 on the end through January as full expenditures to date. Next slide. Overall, we have 7 projects in construction, 5 in design. This is from the dashboard on our website. As you can see down below, similar information. And if you need to get on particulars, you can click on each individual school that will provide you with additional information. We're about 23% overall through construction with a 19.8% MWSBE at this moment. Skyny will get into more details later on. We currently have 5 projects in design as it showed on the last one, and then 7 in construction, or the list in construction here. And then down at the bottom, we do have the schools that have not yet been totally authorized for moving into design with. Project delivery by school year. I believe some of you have seen this. As you can see in the second column, 26-27, these will be the projects that will actually be turned over or occupied during this upcoming school year. So I'll turn it over to Mike Higgins on the bond communication engagement.
Thank you, Ken. This slide represents how we communicate with our constituents in the county, whether that be internal or external, CMS families, voters, students, parents, etc. Our first area to look at is our bond engagement processes that we have. Those would include our project updates, what we call both internal as well as external. External updates would be public meetings that we would actually participate in with the different schools that we're designing as well as constructing. And internal meetings would be projects which, meetings that would entail the CMS leadership group, as well as other focus meetings when we have to get into a more detailed area of discussion. Other areas of engagement, obviously, and of course happens, is with our principals, as well as student engagement activities. Student engagement activities will be discussed further in this meeting, which would be, as an example, something like ACE mentorship that we do, other kinds of activities with our architect and MWSBE groups. The third area of engagement is through newsletters, social media, surveys, etc. And then the last item would be emails that we receive through the CMS Bond website, where individuals may contact us directly. This is further demonstrated in the middle column of communication platforms, which I just discussed. We have a very robust CMS Bond website, which Kenneth commented on earlier, as well as we have our Insights newsletter, which is distributed through our Constant Contact and other venues, and are very interesting. And what I'm proud about is our social media platforms that we participate in. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second. And lastly is our printed materials that we distribute on a day-to-day basis or in our public meetings that we hold. Nicole, do you want to talk to us about the progress monitoring aspect?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Higgins. As you can see, we have multiple platforms that ensure families stay informed through our newsletters, websites, social media, meetings, and then we have our bond progress monitoring. Our monitoring is done through several methods. It's through our Charlotte-Mecklenburg Board of Education reporting, our Community Capital and Bond Committee, which is this meeting. We keep our community informed through the Community Equity Committee, as well as our community engagement. And so this area of engagement keeps us accountable to the dollars and sharing of communications and information surrounded around the bond project. Next slide.
Thank
And I'll
you.
pass it back to you, Mr. Higgins.
Thank you. This slide here represents the time period of January 2025 through December 2025. And this is a representation of our social media outcomes for that entire year, which, as you can see, are, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong slide. I jumped ahead. I apologize. Let me back up. This slide here represents the bond communications and engagement activities that we performed in the last quarter of 2025. In November, we participated in 3 community engagement meetings, one at Dilworth Elementary, one at the new middle school #1 project, and another one at the middle school #2 project. We also published our quarterly newsletter and had numerous social media updates as is described in that listing below. In the month of December, although it was a short month, we were still very active in our communication engagements, both through our newsletter as well as through our social media updates. In the month of January, we had one more additional community engagement at the new middle school, as well as Billingsville Montessori Upfit 1.5 outreach. That was in to promote the bidding of the project that's upcoming here in the first quarter of 2026. Other activities that included in this quarter were the multiple social media updates that were presented on various platforms. Next slide. This is the slide that I alluded to earlier, which is the outcome of the 2025 results of our social media efforts. For instance, in the first column is the Instagram multimedia social media platform, which we've exceeded significantly above our goal with 3,500,000 views. And what a view is exactly what it says. Somebody actually viewed that site or viewed that input, and then the reach is actually 408,000 for Instagram, which is actually individual different accounts that viewed and read that social media output. Same application applies for Facebook views and reaches, and YouTube, although it's not as popular. We still had a great effort in reaching out through that platform. And then the last column would be our website views that we received, 121,000, almost 122. And then, of course, what we're all very proud of is that we have almost 48,000 individual accounts that regularly look at our CMS website. Next slide. And I'm going to turn this over to Ken.
So we have the luxury of saying that we've completed one project out of the overall bond. We've Sedgefield Montessori, they actually occupied last August. And we've completed the renovation work to turn Sedgefield Elementary into a Montessori school. So congratulations to everybody. This year, 26-27 school openings. Just a little brief information here. Cato Ridge, which is MS1. Northwest School of the Arts G building actually turned over in December and is occupied with a mid-year occupancy on it, and we're renovating other locations, other areas on that campus. Next slide. Additionally, Dilworth Elementary School, which was originally New Elementary School at Park Road. This is the new name, Dilworth Elementary. First Ward Creative Arts Middle School, that entire project should be completing. And then J.T. Williams Secondary Montessori, which is the renovation for at Marie G. Davis. They will be occupying in August. Next slide. Cato Ridge, little information in there. So this is the middle school one, Cato Ridge, down on the south side, 54 base classroom. We are completing exterior brick, doing interior drywall, paint, casework, progressing very well on that project for this year's turnover. Next one. North Ridge School of the Arts, as I indicated previously, so we've completed G building. They have occupied G building. We have taken over a portion of E building and C building, which is the admin and classrooms and the black box, if you're familiar with that campus, and doing upfits right now to turn over this summer on that campus. Next slide. Dilworth Elementary School, formerly New Elementary School at Park Road, progressing very well. Again, similar to Middle School 2 or Middle School 1 or Cato Ridge. And doing drywall, paint, finishes, ceilings, bringing that one home for an August turnover at this point. Next slide. Marie G. Davis Middle School. We are currently working on that one. We are in the building while it's occupied in specific and strategic locations is not to impact school that is taking place there now. And we'll hit it heavy and hard this summer and occupy with J.T. Williams moving over in August. Next slide. First Ward Creative Arts Middle School. They are occupied in there. We are in the media center currently and doing some HVAC in areas of the unoccupied spaces. That one's going very well. We're in the casework in the media center, flooring and final paint there. Should be getting really close to turning that over for occupancy. A little early, I will say, if they choose to occupy that. They are in a temporary setup in the media center. So we're working with the principal on how they want to move into that space. Next slide. Marie G. Davis, Secondary Montessori. This one is, we're working around that one, around the building in the occupied state. And gonna be doing a lot of work over summer when it is unoccupied. And then Vincent will handle some projects and design for us.
Thank you so much, Ken. Good afternoon, or good morning, or good morning, everybody. As you see on the screen, you have the Berry Hill Elementary School. This is a off-site replacement that is currently in the design development phase. We are active with keeping up on the current schedule to occupy in August 2028. The next project is Beverly Woods Elementary School. This is an on-site replacement with CMS standard 45 classroom baseline elementary school. Again, this one is in design and currently approaching the construction documents phase, with an occupancy still on schedule for August of 2028. The next one is Huntersville Elementary School. Again, an on-site replacement with a 45 classroom CMS baseline design standard with a scheduled occupancy of August of 2028. Next project is New Middle School 2 North, located in Huntersville. This is a CMS standard 54 classroom facility that'll be located along Stumptown Road for those that are familiar with the area, and intended to relieve Bailey Road, Bradley, and J.M. Alexander. Also on schedule and approaching the CD phase, construction documents phase, with the occupancy of August of 2028. Next project is the Second Ward High School. This is a new high school just located beside the existing Metro School in Uptown Charlotte. This one, actually, if you were to drive by the site, you would see actual construction fencing going on. This was just relative to when the report was created. So you will see active construction going on if you were to drive by there today. We're excited about this facility with the occupancy of August of 2028. From there, I will turn it back to Ken to talk about projects in construction.
Did. Cotswold Elementary School, brand new school, on that site we have started. We currently have demoed the existing facility and are doing site work, site utilities, storm, and have begun the footings on that project. Billingsville Montessori upfit, again, going back, we've gone in and done the secured vestibule, done some renovations throughout. We are fixing to go into what we call the 1.5, as Mike referred to earlier, which is HVAC controls and a site work project to replace the staff and visitor parking lot. Excellent. North Mecklenburg High School, going pretty hard up there. We're focused right this second on athletics to have that turned over for use in August. We are in footings, retaining walls, site utilities, ponds, and erosion control, but a big focus on the athletic fields to get that prepared for August turnover. South Mecklenburg High School, again, very similar to North Mech. We have a big focus on the athletic turnovers for use in August, again, while building the new building on campus. We have footings in, going up with the CMU block on to the second floor, what we're calling the second floor, and doing MEP rough-ins. I'll turn it over to Mr. Higgins.
May I ask a quick question?
Yeah, there you go, Nicole.
May I
Yes,
ask a
ma'am.
quick question on the previous slide, because somebody asked me about it, a constituent, so I thought, let me just ask the question. Can you, for historical context, if you have any, about this particular project, the football field package, can somebody remind me how this came about, the comprehensive athletics package? Because we're adding the replacement. We're adding, yeah, what exactly are we doing in South Mech? Can you say that to me? Yeah, explain that to me.
Yes, we're actually replacing a majority of the campus during an occupied time. So the only way that we could build this building on campus while keeping it occupied was to build it on top of the football field. So we had to take the football field and move that. So we are building a new athletics package, or installing a new athletics package, as you have indicated. And we'll come back after occupying the new building and demo the old building.
So the reason for the athletic package is because, I'm just saying it back to make sure I understood. So the reason of the athletic package was that in order to start creating the new construction of the majority of the campus, it had to be built on the existing football field so that the school could remain open. And so in doing so, you have to replace that field. Is that right? And create a new field.
That is correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. That was my question.
All right. Energy usage.
Thank you, Ken. This slide was developed that we've been asked to look at the design of our new facilities and understand how they are compete or actually perform in an energy usage perspective. The definition here that says site EU, it measures the amount of energy consumed at a building site. And I just want everyone to understand, these are the EU numbers for the design of the facility. And as you can see, the Cotswold, the new elementary on Park Road, our Northwest School of the Arts new middle school #1, as well as the First Ward Creative Arts Middle School, all range between an average of 33 through 54. these are all actually excellent EU numbers for the, when you evaluate what they are consuming energy of. So we're proud to see that we're being very competitive and up to date with our energy usage in our designs. Next slide. I'm going to turn this over to Skyne, and she's going to talk about our MWSBE program.
Excuse me, we have a board member that has their hand raised. Ms. Stone, do you have a question?
Yes,
Oh, there's a
thank
few
you.
others as well. Okay, go ahead.
My question is around the EU ratings. What would it take to get higher ratings? I mean, 46, that sounds good, but 54 sounds better. So what does it take in a process like this? And if this is too detailed of a question, I can take it off. You can just send me information, that's fine. But what would we have to do to get the EU rating up in above 50% in these new constructions or additions or whatever we're doing? What does that look like?
Yes,
Real
ma'am. Great.
quick, the lower numbers are actually better on this.
Okay. Oh, okay. So, all right. So low number is better.
And to tag on to what Alan is saying, he's actually correct for what we call energy use or EUI. Alan, this is a delivery or a calculation which is at the site itself. So the number is still actually correct, or at least the average that you're saying. Between 30 to 50 is actually very common across the national average for schools when you measure EU, not EUI, but EU. So we are hitting the mark quite well. And the reason why the Northwest School of the Arts number is a little bit low, I just would like to comment that was for the entire campus. Now, we just finished the new building, which would have a much higher rate than 33.3, but we actually read that value throughout the entire campus, which is including the existing facilities as well. Okay.
Okay. So lower is better. Then let's flip the question. How do we move to lower for everybody? I mean, in our new construction and in our innovations, how much of a factor does energy usage or energy source play into the overall planning and design part of this?
It plays an extensive part in it as, now this is getting into the details, but we have adopted many of our, what I would call lead sustainability principles into the basic lines or parameters of every school design, which illustrates or goes back to how much energy we would be saving, which would deliver, the rating that you're aiming for. So we are doing that, although we are not using principles such as, absorbing the sunlight to create energy, PV kind of items like that. But from a normal design perspective, the saving of or utilizing equipment that is energy efficient at its highest possible area, as well as water usage. And when you get to gas equipment, areas that utilize the lowest amount of gas possible to put out the highest amount of heat from a heating perspective.
So just one little follow-up.
All right, that's the last one.
Okay, last one. And this one is really out there just to throw it as a way to think about things for future going forward would be the use of solar energy. I mean, these buildings are all flat topped and they're all in the middle of bright sunshiny spaces. And is that even a factor that we could consider?
We could.
So Nicole, Tim, I'm not sure if you want to go ahead and answer that one. As you know, we have looked at it in certain situations, but
Yeah, I'll be glad to answer that.
Yeah,
So we do explore that as an option. And what we end up looking at is you have to look at a total return on investment. So if you're able to install the solar panels, then when is the life cycle for when the panel will need to be replaced, as opposed if we pick a different form of energy usage throughout that time. So they do run that scenario to look through, but at the time we have a standard for how we to what we put into our master spec for each building, and that then helps us to determine the energy usage based off of those products, and we'll make an adjustment as needed, but it's not something that we don't consider in the process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Great question, Board Member Stone. Kirstine, I'm gonna get to you right now. I just wanted to say, no, this is great. Like, this is exactly what we want to know, because we are stewarding the voters' money. So we want to understand how we're calculating these investments and the return. So I do agree, but I do believe that because of the size of our schools and how many schools, and it's worth considering, we could have our own like town of electricity at this point. And given how energy companies continue to increase their prices, it's worth figuring out if there's a path in the future to be more self-sustainable. Chair Sneed, you raised your hand, and then Commissioner Rodriguez.
Thank you. I have a question. So, how much flexibility is there, like in the design work? Like, is it typically you just working off standard specifications for each school, depending on the level of school it is?
yes, so CMS has a CMS AE guideline and a CMS master specification and a CMS program of spaces that we utilize with the designers to build a building, or to design a building to later then be constructed. So the standards that have been put in place is what we follow in the design.
Okay, because I'm wondering. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, what I was going to add is based off of the A&E guidelines, the building design guidelines, we do have the flexibility to go back and evaluate things that we certainly want to add. One of the areas that we've been focused in on is talking about how to make our school buildings complementary over with the programs in which we offer, bringing more color into the buildings, as well as the functionality of how schools are being utilized. So those are discussions. We're having those at the, what I would say, principal level, like what can we learn based off of how they've used their existing buildings, what works well, what doesn't work well, that helps inform the design of our future buildings, but still staying within those guidelines and/or standards. So there's certain things that we can be flexible with, but there's also a cost element with that we've also been discussing as well as it pertains to the overall design.
Okay, thank you. So as a follow-up, I guess, and I had a similar question to Board Member Stone's, in terms of, I mean, I'm wondering if we're looking, I mean, if there could be some flexibility in the design work, you know, depending on location, what would work environmentally? Meaning, like, could some schools have rooftop gardens, or it's green space at the top of a building? And I'm not quite sure that I'm tracking with the determination of whether solar is viable, considering that one of the particular items in our budget this year is related to utility cost, which we you know, we're going to need some support in that outside of the district, to pay those costs, and, you know, it's in the millions of dollars. So how are we making the analysis of, you know, going forward, if that is not the better plan? I understand the life cycle of a, you know, of the panels, but I'm not quite tracking on how you're making that determination.
So Chair Sneed, I'll be glad to address how that process works. So just because you would have a school that has a solar panel doesn't mean that the equipment that's inside the school that you would need to then power the school, that's additional equipment that goes along with it. And some of that is not the same as what you would use in another type of school building with a different kind of usage. So we would run an analysis to determine whether your long-term return on investment is going to be better to use solar or any of the energy efficient or different energy sources through that. And we can certainly provide that for you to let you know. But typically what we have done is stayed with equipment that we have known that has been a good return on investment. And when we measure out our energy usage, we try to make sure the envelope of the building is designed to create good energy usage throughout.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any more questions? This is a really important conversation. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Rodriguez McDowell.
Thank you. I just wanted to sort of co-sign this conversation around net zero buildings. And I really do think that we shouldn't just sort of take what we know and just, you know, kind of not look to the future. I think, as everyone has stated, the utility costs are just, you know, really a factor that we should continue to push in this area. And I just really appreciate the conversation so far, and I'm hoping that we can push it a bit further, and not sort of you know, just sort of lay it down and go, well, you know, maybe that's in the future sometime. Like now is the time to think about the future when we're building all of these new buildings. And I know that design is part of the process, and, you know, you don't want to redesign things you've already designed. But as we move forward with future design, I really do think that this conversation around net zero buildings is one that we really have to have in a serious way. And I don't know if that requires you know, like an extra committee or something like that. I don't know if CMS has an environmental committee or anything like that, but I really do think that this is something that needs further investigation. So thank you for letting me just add my 2 cents.
No, great conversation, Chair Sneed.
Just last thing on that. So then, can I ask that for the next meeting that we get some type of report out on how we're determining, especially for our new construction projects, how we're determining if solar is viable or not?
Yeah. With I'm sure you have this already, but the calculations of the incremental utility costs that we're forecasting over the next 10 to 20 years, that will be really good to understand as well. We are not, like, I am not a full-on expert. I'll speak for myself on this, so it's really good to see the how you get there so that we can all be on the same page and all of that. Cool. Chair Stone, I promoted you. Board Member Stone, go ahead. You're on mute.
Thank you. You know, I think I agree with Chair Sneed. I think a viability study is really important. We already know that, you know, we build buildings to last. We don't build a school and have it sit or use it for 20 years and then mow it over. That's not the way we roll around here. And so which is why we are in the position we're in with the kind of the buildings that we're dealing with now. So how do you factor in, I appreciate that the solar panels would have to be replaced at some time, but so did the boilers. And so did the air conditioning units. And so did that unit that dripped in my classroom every day for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. So anyway, it would be interesting to see a cost study on this, and keeping in mind that we can expect to replace solar panels in the same way that we've replaced boilers and HVAC systems, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And then also, if the building could generate enough power, what does that mean to sustainability over time for the building and also for the neighborhood where the building is located? Because there's a lot that we could gain with some spare energy floating around. So yeah, I would appreciate seeing this a comparison as well. Thank you.
Thank you all. Yes, we will have that as a follow-up for the next meeting. I think there's nothing wrong with exploring these options. Like, my mom used to say, knocking on the door doesn't mean that you're entering it.
Right.
So it's good to explore all the options and have those conversations as stewards of the voters' money. All right, next topic. Where are ya? Is it Ms. Porti or is it?
We have one more question.
Oh, I'm so
Mr.
sorry.
Nelson.
Okay, please go ahead.
Just real quick, yeah, and thank you all for those questions. I mean, this is the thing I'm passionate about. On the energy use intensity, I'm sorry for the background noise. I'm getting a new metal roof here at the cabin today, so there's banging behind me. We build a great school, and like we are, as the building guy said, we are definitely in line or better than a lot of what's built around the country, with EUI numbers sometimes in the 30s, maybe in the 40s, depending on the building. But we also have to look at one of the good examples is that Warren County schools in Kentucky that did the first net zero. I mean, for over a decade, they've been getting EUI numbers in the 20s, and they have some buildings all the way down into the teens. So, and then to go back to the solar piece, if you're asking about solar specifically, if you have a building that's just ballpark, call it a building that's like an EUI around 40, well, to make that net zero, it requires a whole lot more solar panels. If you're starting with a building envelope that has an EUI in the upper teens or around 20, obviously it takes a much, much smaller number of solar panels. So there's, that's a key thing too. When we just look at the analysis, we're not just talking about what would be the cost of solar powers to put on an EUI 40 building. We need to make sure we're talking about that. And if it goes back to maybe I know initially, in developing our master specification or the A&E, which I'm not familiar with, it'd be cool to learn more about that. But I'm sure that was developed over decades, thinking a lot of times we can repeat general ballpark designs and save ourselves on architectural costs. So for a long time, that was a cost savings. But now we've just, school systems like Horry County down in Myrtle Beach, they have 4 or 5 net zero buildings now. So if we look at what they did or what Warren County schools are doing, there's enough examples now that they've sort of leapfrogged, and it's almost like this master specification or this A&E is actually holding us back because these specs that we're kind of looking at aren't asking us in those initial design conversations to say, hey, can you just target, here's our budget. We know that there's all these examples now of schools that can be built for, the budget, and you can, if you're just asking for it, you can basically get a net zero school or you can get a standard school. So maybe that, if our specification isn't allowing us to ask those questions, that's kind of where we start. And there's certainly the expertise in the Charlotte area because a lot of these contractors have done the net zero schools for other school systems. So I think that's great because we know we have the expertise right in Charlotte. So thanks.
Yes. Can I respond? Thank you, Mr. Nelson, for the feedback. Most certainly, a couple of things that we're doing is that we do have an energy manager. We are collaborating with various districts to identify what methods they're using in order to get to our energy efficiency. And then also with our facilities conditions assessment that we are undertaking, there's also an energy component there to see what can be learned. So certainly understanding that the building design of the new schools that we are building certainly can provide us the highest return on investment in terms of zero energy cost. So we know that is true across the country. And so just know that we are looking at various aspects of our data to see, one, what can be learned, and two, how have other districts transitioned in that renewable energy efficiency in order to drive down overall energy use. So the work is underway. We're obviously not where we want to be, but certainly underway, and the comments that you all have made have been received.
All right, I'm going to move us along to minority, women, and small business updates, and then any lingering conversations. I'm going to open the floor at the end to give us time to talk. So don't think your voice will not be heard if you didn't get anything out yet. All right, I'm going to pass the mic.
Good afternoon. I am Skyni Beatha, and I will be presenting the Minority Women and Small Business Program update for you. Next slide. Back. This slide here is showing you, in addition to our external dashboard that you saw in the previous slides, that gives you the view of the bond progress and the MWSBE utilization. This dashboard is our internal dashboard, where we're able to track in a more detailed format of our Tier 1 and Tier 2 suppliers. This dashboard allows us to track by certification, the number of vendors, as well as percent of our vendors that are on our active projects by category. This dashboard, in addition to, also allows us to identify areas of opportunity so we can ensure that our competitive bidding process is enhanced. Next slide. As part of our enhancement to the 2023 bond, we have increased our external communication by leveraging our social media. As you can see, as Mike had alluded to earlier, we also track our supply development, success, and activities, as well in our Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Constant Contact. As you see here, our goals that have been that were met have been exceeded, and we are excited about that. So we are especially excited about our Instagram and our Facebook and LinkedIn platforms, where our numbers have really skyrocketed here. Next slide. This gives you an overview of our career and technical education program. Currently, we have 34 pathways here that allow students to explore career opportunities, as well as we have 23 that are construction related in our high schools as they relate to some of these, just a few that are listed here, where our students can take advantage of our construction related pathways as it relates to our career, technical, and education program. Next slide. This gives you, the next slide provides you with a little bit of our past events that we had around our workforce development program. We have been, again, very active and engaging with our community partners, as well as our construction managers and architectural and engineering firms, to ensure that our students are taking advantage of all the opportunities that they have available as it relates to events. And these are just a few of our past events that happened within the last quarter. Next slide. Again, additional past events that took place. As a reference to also some at the bottom, you will see photos here, and especially of around as it relates to our Build-A-Shed competition, and then as well as our work with our Metro School that was very engaging with us as our outreach for our second ward project. Next slide. And this slide here provides you with upcoming events around our workforce development. So as you can see, beginning in this month, going through the end of the year, we are very active. We have coming up next week our Ace Trades Mentor Day, which will take place on next Tuesday. We also, the following week, will have the CTEQ Futures Fair. That will be at Bank of America Stadium. That will be taking place on March the 24th. In addition, we have our Supply Development Summit for our MWSBE and all of our vendors to, again, learn about opportunities within our departments that are not necessarily construction related, but also learn about what other services, products, and goods that will be coming up for opportunity for our departments to share, as well as some of our community partners shared other events that they will also be communicating to our students for summer programs, summer school, as well as conferences that will be taking place, again, for them to just to continue to understand around the opportunities as it relates to construction, architectural, and engineering. And that completes my report, my presentation for today. Thank you.
All right, back to you, Chair Moderator Duvall.
Great. Is that the end of the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, I will open up the floor for questions, comments. Chair Sneed, you have your hand up.
Yes, can you go back to the slide that had the MWSBE information on it?
This one.
Next one.
Is this the one?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So is there, can you provide this broken out? Meaning, first, minority owned, what does that mean? I mean, I know what it means, but what are those numbers like? And then secondly, I'm wondering, are these, what if it's minority and woman owned? Are you putting them in two categories?
No. If they're minority owned and women, they are in the minority owned tracking category.
Okay. And then I just have two other questions and that's it. But how does it compare, like comparative of, prior bond projects? And the other question is, which you may not be able to answer today, the other question is the comparative, because I'm wondering if we are increasing in our numbers or not in these categories. And then I know one of these, as a part of specifically this project, I know that we were partnering with Leaper into helping engagement of contractors or subcontractors so that there can be more participation in the first tier and second tier areas. So I don't know what does that outreach or what does that participation with them look like?
So there's two different things here. What Scotty's reporting on here is a number of certified individuals in our current database, that there's 574 in our database. 218 of them are currently working on active projects. So it just shows a percentage of who we have in our database is certified. There's another one that we went through, we breezed over earlier on, whereas the 23 bond overall percentage based upon value of work. That one was at 19% as it stands right now in participation. In comparison, the 2017 bond was 44% at the end of it. So we're still ramping up in the 23 bond, but we're showing upward projection with that value at this point.
Yes.
So these are
Does that
just
answer your
vendors with
question?
CMS or related to construction?
Yes, these vendors here are only those that are either our subcontractors or our primes in the construction area.
Okay, this is construction area. Okay.
Construction
Yes.
only.
All right, so we're at we're at 19% now is what you're saying.
Yeah, we're just
Based
getting started.
upon, yeah,
So as a follow-up, I think for the next meeting, we'll need a breakdown by certification and how we compare versus last year. I mean, to last bond. Is that right, Chair Sneed?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, well, yes, because
So-
I'm wondering how do we know what is happening different in terms of MWSBE than the prior years in terms of, particularly I'm wondering that tier 2 category.
Right, yes, so we're performing some more outreach sessions, in capturing other individuals to participate in providing a number on bid day. So as you can see here, this goes back to what we had based upon financials. This is the percentages that we're currently sitting at as it stands in January as a 19.8% overall, broken down in the MW and minority, small, and women side, because that's what our goals are, that are in our contracts, is broken out that way. So that's the way we report on it. And you can see down a little bit further how it breaks down per project of where we're hitting the percentages for that specific project currently.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Chair, Board Member Stone. You may be on mute.
Sorry about that. Thank you. I appreciate this information. I'm glad Chair Sneed brought this up, and I'd also wonder, and I too would be interested in seeing where these businesses line up into the overall scheme of what we do as part of the projects. For long-term, do we, and this is just my curiosity, I would really like to see all of the elements and how they are weighted that compose the design process, aside from, okay, you've got the building, the walls, the exterior, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and how that all fits into looking at a net zero energy building. How are we designing for the future, I guess is the question.
Well, I don't think I think that's a really great question, and I'm sure they can answer it better, but I don't think we committed to net zero. I think that is a city initiative and a county initiative, and it's what we should strive for, of course, but it's not something that we're contractually obligated to do. I just want to make that distinction because it's why not? Because it's the voters' money. So we need to make sure that when we're deciding these things, we just have to look at it holistically and as a committee and all of that. That's all it is.
And that's why I'm curious to see how far we are from whether we incorporate those goals into what we do. Because if we are talking about voter money, well, we are talking about.
Or sorry, not voter money, taxpayer money.
Taxpayer.
That wrong.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. Exactly. Let's call it taxpayer money. I feel like that we have an obligation, even if it's a short-term expense that avoids a long-term larger expense, and also that enables us to more accurately predict maintenance cost of buildings going forward, and how that factors in too. I'm just would like to see, and there's probably something there, and if somebody could shoot me something, that'd be great. I'd appreciate that information. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rodriguez McDowell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, I want to co-sign on what Board Member Stone was saying. I really like the way she's thinking there. I did want to kind of ask a different question, if it's appropriate to switch the topic a little bit. And please tell me if this is out of bounds, but I've been getting a ton of letters around 1600 Tyvola Road, and I just wondered if there was any update on that. If this, I don't know if, because this is the building committee, if maybe they would know about that.
Yeah, I'll be glad to tell you where we are. So we are in the process of following the statutory requirement for right of first refusal. And so once that has finished this process, then we'll be at the part where we're able to bring it to our board for them to make a decision on where we move forward with that property. So we have had a lot of the constituents ask about what's happening with the property. And just to give you a brief summary, earlier in the school year, in the fall, we had a developer who was interested in purchasing it before it got to the part where they made a valid offer, which would have then initiated the right of first refusal. They came back and wanted to take more land than we were willing to provide them. In other words, they wanted to develop over top of the school's athletic fields. So we denied that request, and they decided to withdraw their offer. Since then, we have gone back in and resecured the property. We have daily walks with not only our own personnel, but also our CMS PD and CMPD has signed an agreement that they can go to the property. And so we also met with the fire marshal, and they were allowed us to increase some of our security measures that we had previously been denied on. So now the building is fully secure, and we are working through that process. So hopefully in the next month or so, we'll be able to make an announcement about where we are and what will be the next steps.
Wow, great. Thank you so much for that update. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chief Ivy. Really appreciate that. All right, Miss Williams.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to take the opportunity to introduce myself. I was recently appointed to the committee maybe 1 week ago. My name is Leah Williams, originally from Houston, Texas. Just moved to Charlotte less than a year ago and excited to serve. I'm a commercial real estate advisor, and so that's what interests me about the committee, just learning about what's happening in the city, being able to be a part of these conversations and hopefully positively impact our constituents and the students. Thank you.
Thank you. And that was so rude of me for not introducing you. I apologize. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, no worries.
And welcome. We're so happy to have you. All right, great. Is there any other questions? Okay, I just had just a couple and then we'll close if that's all right with everybody. I would say congratulations on Sedgefield Montessori and that being opened. The new Sedgefield school. I was wondering, as we're opening these schools, and I think this has been brought up before, is there an opportunity for us to have a field trip to go visit some of these? We're all like so involved and would love that for anybody that wants to and is available. So please, if there's any opportunities like that, I think that would be a great little treat for us, I would say. And then my other question was around if we could share any overarching financial headwinds or tailwinds that we are seeing, and if there are any blockers that we are seeing that may change the trajectory. I just want to have a high level understanding if there's anything that we can share.
I would say at this point, we're doing very well with our construction awards based upon the original budgets.
Great. Okay. All right. So for follow-ups, and then we have one more question from Mr. Nelson. Go ahead.
I was thumbing through. I've got this copy of this report from, I guess, what was formerly known as National Renewable Energy Laboratory. It has a new name now, but I can share this too. But this is from 2021. But I'm just going to read these two little sentences real quick because it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I think it's interesting, especially since, if we were to look at net zero as a first time thing, obviously there's all the school systems that have done this for the first time. There's lots of stuff to be nervous about. But it mentions here, improving the building envelope can reduce the size and cost of the, HVAC systems. And then, for example, an investment, and this is talking about Discovery Elementary in Arlington, Virginia, but For example, an investment in $200,000 of extra money that went into the building's envelope. So to give it a lower EUI number, instead allowed the school's first cost of about $500,000 on HVAC costs. So just a much smaller HVAC system. And they said rather than spend $119,000 to upgrade from double pane windows to triple pane windows, the engineers calculated it would cost just $9,000 to keep the double pane windows and increase the size of the solar system to sort of offset. So it's kind of neat when, like right now, the designers and architects and engineers, they don't have that lever to pull of like the solar, but it's kind of neat. If this is the goal at the beginning, that's a whole nother lever they can pull. And they've got all this really sophisticated modeling software now, so they can kind of plug and play and choose. And somebody could say like, hey, we've got like, a little bit of money up front in the building envelope. And to the Stone's comment earlier, like we know who's going to own and operate this for like 3 decades, right? It's different than like a calculation for your own personal ROI on your house. But they're looking at the windows, they're looking at the thickness of the walls, the insulation, and then the PV. And of course, the PV itself has come down, the photovoltaic panels have come down so much in cost. So when they have the ability to pull those levers and just, interact with all these things at the very beginning, that helps a lot. And I think that's what we're kind of missing on right now. But again, I know enough about this to talk about it, but like some of the folks at these engineering firms in Charlotte that have done this, that, they're the really ones I think we should get in the room with a bunch of us, and, they can make us feel a lot more comfortable about it. So thank you all.
Yeah, it seems like that's a big deep dive topic for the next meeting. So maybe we spend a bigger chunk of that, because it seems to be one very interesting. It could be an opportunity, and it will be good to just explore it and just understand. To Mr. Nelson's point, not all of us fully understand it, but if we can get a ground so that we're able to communicate this with our constituents and the people that we are in community with, as we are continuing to ask for money for utilities. And even though, we have fixed costs, these costs continue to increase. So it would be good for us to have that information to empower us to speak to our constituents, whichever way we go. But it's very important, I think. So we'll definitely spend some time, and then we'll follow up about the MWSBE, because I know, Chair Sneed, you've asked a few times. And so I want to understand what we really want to understand, so that we get to the answer. Because I feel like we've had some questions around this before. So like, I want to get you what you need.
Well, it's just not broken out.
It's not broken out. And I feel like you've asked for that a few times. So like, yeah, let's make sure that we just, I'll make sure that we follow up on that. All right. Is there any questions before I close the meeting?
I'll just, if real quick, I know I've sent, people I've talked with this, I'm a little passionate on this net zero stuff, but if it's okay, I'm happy to, like the email list, everybody that's on this meeting for the meeting invite, I'm happy to send out the links to a couple of these reports, just so everybody has that. And I mean, there's no reason to hold that. So I'll do that a little bit. So that's fine.
Cool.
Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you all for thank you everyone that present. Oh, you have a question?
Board Member Monterey, I would just like to see it actually be very intentional about researching and looking to incorporating a net zero plan. We owe it to the planet. We owe it to our taxpayers. We owe it to ourselves to look for ways to ensure that our buildings can be sustainable with the emerging technologies that we have available that 20 years ago, that even 10 years ago we didn't have. So we should be looking, I believe we should be looking at what we need to do long term and how to incorporate that with the numbers, because it's only going to get more expensive the longer we delay this.
Yeah, and I think we're all feeling that at home, and so I think we can all vouch for that for sure. So it's definitely worth discussing, and I agree with that. And well, thank you to staff for working on this. For everyone that was engaged and involved. This, I felt like, was a very productive conversation. Please, if you have any follow-ups or feedback, just go ahead and send them to me, and we will meet again in a couple of months. All right, we are adjourning. Weekend. Great, thank you. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye, y'all.
Bye.